So here we are in the driving the car part of the review. But the chassis is very good, and it. Welcome to Autocarnerd, and today is a very professional review of the Audi A4. Now, the original Audi A4 was launched back in 1994 and was built on Volkswagen's Group B platform, and it was the successor to the Audi 80 back in 1994. Like I said, I'm really on a professional level right now, and the car was actually quite a good success. And how can we not forget the Audi RS4? I mean, just look at it. It looks so cool compared to those. After that year, you have 5 generations later. Audi launched the newest one. So after the B5 come the B5, B6, B7, and now the B9 that was launched back in 2015. Newer Audi, the B9, which is the model code, Audi says that it's more aerodynamic than the older model. It's also 120 kilograms lighter than the older Audi. It was slightly larger in the diameter than the older one as well. And I don't think it does look that remarkably more different compared to the older Audi A6, but maybe that's why they still look quite modern. If you look at like an older Audi from 2005, I think it still looks sort of modern-ish if you compare, for example, with BMW and Mercedes, which look outdated quite quickly. Now, some cool details on this car is this has the lowest drag efficiency of its class. I think it's 0.24, which is really good, and they designed the car with some small details to improve wind noise. For example, in the rear view mirror you see a gap, just like a supercar. Well, they did that to reduce noise. The front panels as well has been reduced or designed in a special way to eliminate sounds as well. Now, for the facelifted model, you get a little bit different grille down here, especially if you get the S-Line package. You get sort of this part right there, right down, is in sort of a 3D-ish motion. And in the rear, it's only small details actually. The downer part right here where the exhaust are in this is totally modified with the larger the exhaust pipes, just like the facelifted Audi A6 had. So it's not a big difference. When it comes to interior, it's actually quite similar. Prices are varying which country you live in, but roughly 35,000 will get you a bog stock one with a 6-speed manual. So as standard, the standard equipment is actually sort of is generous depending on which country you live. In Sweden it's a keyless entry or keyless go, as they say, but it's only the start button. You don't get the exterior keyless, that's an optional. Audi free safety, Audi adaptive cruise control is also standard. The normal comfort seats is also standard. Some options I think looks really good on this car is the S-Line package. We make it a little bit mean, a little bit bigger rims as well. Would fit the car, which right now it looks quite bland and boring, but if you put some bigger rims on it, an S-Line package, it looks much better. And if you get the interior S-Line package, I mean, look at this door handle, how cool are those? You get the S-Line sport seats, and you get the S-Line steering wheel, which is sort of cut in half. Audiovisual cockpit, which I think is also quite an essential option, because this thing is really cool. After driving it this weekend, you use it actually quite a lot. In the beginning it was sort of annoying, because you always looked at it. So you saw when it had the maximum brightness on, it was actually quite annoying at night, but I got used to it over. It just took one day it took me to get used to it. And a panoramic roof would be also a cool option. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to go for a drive in it and see how it feels to drive. Here we are in the driving the car part of the review. And first thing I want to say is just a little bit short about Quattro. If you buy this car and you don't buy Quattro, you're missing out. I mean, I really mean it. You really are missing out. So whatever you do, get that little option for Quattro, because Quattro makes a day and night difference with this car. This one is a front wheel drive car, and you feel it. You feel that it's front wheel drive. It's a lesser Audi. And another thing is that if you live in a climate where they put quite a lot of salt on the road, the first thing you have to do when buying this car is getting it all covered up so it won't rust, because right now as it is, it will rust like crazy if you don't do anything to it. So let's drive this one. Like I said, 2-liter Tfsi, 190 horsepower model, which is quite fun. It's actually a lot more fun than you think is. I remember first time I drove it when it was launched. I really was pleasantly surprised how the chassis felt. Now it did not feel as sporty as a BMW, but after driving it quite a lot, it has that sporty edge. It's not as balanced maybe as the BMW, but overall it's very good. And the power is there. Especially if you get more horsepower models, you get a lot more fun. But the chassis feels very, very well, very, very good. It really starts to understand when you're pushing it incredibly badly, horribly hard. By the way, this is where the King of Sweden lives. This is his summer place, summer town, summer house, summer town of the Swedish king. It's actually a very beautiful, beautiful castle. But back to the review. So, Drive Select works okay. You have different modes. For example, in efficiency, it will try to turn the engine off as much as possible. It will coast. And the start-stop system is very good integrated into the car, and you barely feel it, and it's very, very smart. Then you have comfort, which is just like efficiency, but not as eco-friendly, I guess. And then you have auto, which the car chooses by itself, and then you have a dynamic. And dynamic, what it does is sharpening up the throttle response. I think it's sharpening up the steering, but it doesn't feel like it's doing it a lot. And the gearbox is a little bit different. It still has that coasting function and so on and so forth, like you do in efficiency mode, for example. But overall, it's an incredibly comfortable car. The seat is okay. It's not the most comfortable seat I've ever driven, but in the lesser models, you don't get lumbar support, which is, if you're quite tall, like I am, lumbar support is quite necessary, because on a long journey, if it doesn't, you really feel it. And this particular seat has it, but some cars doesn't have it. You have also the option with manual gearbox, but I cannot figure out why in the earth you would want that. If you get this car with the S-tronic gearbox, which is a beautiful gearbox, it's very sharp, very responsive, and you get the Quattro system, then you have a winning concept. The only bad thing about the S-tronic gearbox is that sometimes in city driving, when you're parking, especially if you have the four-wheel drive system, it can jerk a little bit front and back, which is a little bit annoying. But except that, it's wonderful. The brakes also feel quite good, and the engine options, the 2-liter TDI is very good. It's an incredibly good engine. The 3-liter TDI, which we all know is a fantastic engine, but the problem is you don't know where diesel is heading in the future, and it's a little bit speculative, and especially in which country we live in, they are raising diesel prices quite dramatically, and they sort of, I think, want to get rid of diesels, but we don't know for certain yet. The Tfsi engine, especially this Ultra version, which has this sophisticated technology, especially also the G-tronic, those two cars are good. The Tfsi engine is really, really good. Now, back in the days, in the previous generation, it had some problem with these engines, the Tfsi's engines, but now that problem should have been fixed. I think it's a timing, it's not a timing chain anymore, it's a timing belt. So I think they fixed that problem. We will find out in time. And then you have the Audi S4 and the Audi RS4, and those cars are magnificent to drive. But the chassis is very good, and it's actually fun to drive. I love the steering. It's not a lot of feel, but I mean, you can still place the car exactly where you want it to, and that's the most important part. and the car communicates very well with you. Everything from the gearbox, from the pedals to the throttle response, everything like that communicates very well. And the Quattro system, which has the 40-60 bias, means that you can even drift this car. And I wish it was a Quattro so I can demonstrate that, but it's not, so I sadly can't. Some negative parts about this car. Let's see if we can make a little bit of a jump. Some negative parts about this car is it's quite a pricey car. I mean, this car is, let's turn it all down. It's quite a pricey car. 41,000 euros is standard without any discounts. It's maybe a little bland looking comparing to some other cars, for example the Alfa Romeo Giulia, which is a little bit more Italian design, and then you have the Mercedes C-Class, which has also maybe a little bit more exciting design, and some people say the new BMW 3 Series as well, which is even more sportier than this. And then you also have the Jaguar XE, which is the same thing there. It's a little bit more of a sporty car. Other things I don't really like about it, except the price, I really don't know. I'm gonna see if I've written something that I don't like. Let's find out. No, that's pretty much it. So that, I think, concludes the review of this car. Hope you like it. You have a POV of night and day, as well, as you can see in the description. And I wish you all a pleasant day, night or evening or morning or whatever. Peace.